And SABC News reporter Khayelihle Khumalo has more on this. Kaya, good evening to you and welcome. Putin not attending by mutual agreement, as we've been reporting. Russia's going to be represented by its Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov.
Well, certainly, Iman, especially because we do know that the Russian Federation Foreign Affairs Minister Sergei Lavrov is quite close to the Russian President Vladimir Putin. But let's get now a very quick reaction from the governing party here in South Africa, the ANC. Joining us now is the ANC's first Deputy Secretary General. So, ma'am, once again, thank you so much indeed for your time. Let's get your fleeting reaction to the announcement by the South African government.
We received the announcement made by Comrade President Cyril Ramaphosa, and we reflected on it as we were at plenary, and in actual fact many other parties wanted us to pause and reflect on it a bit so that then we are able to have an appreciation. What was key in that is that, one, Russia has not pulled out of attending. Secondly, that Russia has found a better option of denying the prophets of doom any intention to undermine the process, and also the importance of this conference that will be taking place here in South Africa. And on the basis of that, we know Comrade Minister Lavrov, who's a very well-known leader of the Russian people, as well as a veteran of geopolitical understandings and even positioning the world to have an understanding of what exactly is happening between Russia and Ukraine. So we're looking forward to that. It is going to be very informative. And the third thing that we also are raising is that this will put to rest the issue about raising the attendance or non-attendance, but pick up the deliberations from this dialogue happening today and process them as the work that must feed into the outcomes of the August conference, including the other sectoral processes. The third thing that we are also quite vindicated about is that we have high respect of Comrade Putin and his commitment to peace, because this is a demonstration that again indicates that he would not want to make himself an obstacle to the bigger task that BRICS has got, to shoulder not only the BRICS parties, but to also create alternatives for those who want to identify with BRICS and for the future development of the developing states, and of importance to reposition Russia as a very responsible and strategic role player towards a better world.
A self-relief for the governing party and the government, but also raises the question now about South Africa's responsibilities within the International Criminal Court, whether will Pretoria be calling for example, for this institution to be beefed up so that it's not used by the global powers as an instrument, where they want to settle political scores, as it were.
It's not even global powers. It's individual bodies and individual nations that seek to want to have dominance over multilateral institutions, because the role of the UN becomes very important. The role of the UN Security Council becomes very important, and this is what we must defend and refuse that it gets undermined. Our being there in the ICC must be about radical transformation of the ICC and ensure that it becomes an accountable institution. It becomes an institution that is not a weapon of destruction of multilateralism, and also a weapon that seeks to undermine national sovereignty, including other bodies that at some point we need to talk about that contributed to where we are now. But of importance, our assertion now is that we must step in, as Comrade President and other heads of state from Africa have done, to call for peace and dialogue so that then there can be development. No feeding of weapons can bring peace.
And just before I let you go, ma'am, quickly, now we're still hoping that this BRICS is going to be successful now with all the priority areas that have been raised by South Africa.
It's going to be very successful. In actual fact, we're no longer going to be distracted by one question. Is President Putin coming? When the question should be, is Russia still part of BRICS? And I think for the interest of BRICS and for the interest of Russia, we're delighted about the decision that was not imposed on Russia, but a decision that Russia looked at and deprived those who would have actually wanted to create unnecessary chaos, such as what is happening with the Democratic Alliance here in South Africa. But because we also are a body as the ANC that has invested on democracy in this country, we allowed them to go through this process. But we refuse to be used by those who undermine institutions of multilateralism. Same as the DA, they're not in charge of this country. They are not in charge of this country. They might be leading the Western Cape, but they don't actually have any iota of responsibility around issues of international relations. And thanks that we are a disciplined organization as the ANC, because we have the ability to just conduct ourselves as they do, including exposing one another. But what is of importance now, we are on course with the BRICS conference. We are concluding tomorrow here with the dialogue, and of importance, Russia's flag and the Russian people will be represented in the BRICS Summit.
All right, ma'am. Thank you so much indeed for your time. Of course, Iman, that's the ANC Deputy Secretary General, the first one, Nomvula Mokonyane, really just looking very optimistic, and you can really sense the sigh of relief from South Africa's governing party, the ANC, in light of that announcement that the Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin is no longer coming to South Africa for BRICS. With that, back to you in studio.